Okay, here we go.
We're live!
From the top.
That was a great 5-hour episode, everyone. Now let's do it again.
All right, from the top. Here we go.
I was justified when I was 5. Raising Cain, I spit in your eye. Time to change and now the boy get fat. But the fever's gonna catch you when the bitch gets back.
I'm gonna dress you up with my love. I'm gonna dress you up in my love. All over your body. All over your body.
Eat me on a Friday.
Good evening, Jennifer.
Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Josh.
Welcome to the Gleeful Podcast with Josh, Jen, and Ed. You can find us online at Gleeful Podcast. On the Twitters, Gleeful Podcast, I'm at Josh Burnell. She's at Jenny B. Creative. He's at Edward Giordano. Jennifer,
Joshua.
welcome back.
Welcome back. Hey,
Ed, how are you?
I am good. It's been an interesting summer for me, for sure.
Yeah. So we pretty much took the summer off of Glee and of podcasting. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We've got some talk about what we did on our summer vacation, maybe even a little bit what we watched and listened to in our summer vacation, and then of course we will probably talk about the sixth. Well, we'll talk about the sixth season of Glee, the sixth and final season of Glee, and heads up, we'll probably be a little spoilery. Usually, Jen and I don't discuss are super anti-spoilery, but I think in this time we're just going to kind of dive in and discuss what we know thus far, what has been released through official channels, only what's been released through official channels. A little about what we know about the sixth season of Glee, but in the meantime, Jennifer.
Yes.
How have you been?
I'm good. I'm almost back to normal.
Seriously.
We've had a kind of a crazy summer, and it culminated in the biggest craziness ever for us so far, thus far in life.
Pretty much.
Even bigger than planning a wedding and getting married. But I'm good. I'm dealing with the heat. Don't like the heat.
Yes, it was
a crazy heat wave here in LA.
It's a crazy heat wave here in LA. What Jennifer's alluding to is that Jennifer and I shot a movie this summer, just to dispel anybody thinking we had a kid. We shot a movie, which was much more painful for one of us. So we did. I wrote a movie back in January, and I've been writing it ever since. So pretty much 9 months straight I've been working on it. But and so we went out to Big Bear, and we had a cast and a crew and a director named Adam Girash, and the movie's called House by the Lake. He's a crazy person.
He's really
you should
great.
look him up. He mostly does horror films, and this was mostly a horror film. A bit of a horror film, but it's called House by the Lake, and it's about a small family that goes to a house by the lake. And
Conveniently enough.
Conveniently enough. And their autistic daughter begins fixating on an imaginary friend that may or may not be imaginary, or possibly is someone who is kind of messing with the family. And and there's lots of stuff that happens, and it was pretty crazy.
Yes.
We cast. We had a pretty wild cast. We had this little girl named Amaya Miller who was unbelievable.
She's stunning, and she's so incredibly talented.
And she's 10.
A little terrified.
She was terrifying. We had
awesome.
Michael Bowen, who played Uncle Jack in the last season of Breaking Bad.
And also Tommy from Valley Girl.
And Tommy from Valley Girl. We also had Ann Dudek, who you've seen in a million things. Particularly, she was Amber in House. I only know that because my brother's a big House fan.
But apparently, a lot of people know her from White Chicks.
Yes, she was in White Chicks.
She was one of the white chicks they were protecting.
That's true. And then she.
Mad Men.
She's also Betty's pregnant friend on Mad Men.
Yeah,
that's true. And then we had James Callis, who played Gaius Baltar on Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
And he was awesome.
And also he was one of Bridget Jones's best friends. in the Bridget Jones' Diary series.
That's true. He was also Jennifer's drinking buddy for the duration of the shoot.
I did it for the team.
But yes, we made a
Super
movie.
nice.
I wrote and I produced it, and you can see it online if you want to go to HBTL Film, House by the Lake Film, HDBL.
Are you working on a Netflix distribution deal or something, or Amazon Prime, or?
We'll get there. Right now we're just editing it. So we shot it, and now we're editing it.
Well, I know, but you want to have that stuff on lock, right?
Well, I mean, once it's done, we'll lock all that stuff down. The way it usually goes, if you're like small and independent like we are, not usually, but the way it's gonna go for us is we'll finish the film, and then we're looking at either inking a distribution deal now, or we'll try to do the festival circuit where you play all the film festivals and then try to get enough people to care about it that you sign a distribution deal. But people are already sniffing around it, so we might go ahead and lock down distribution before we.
I mean, it sounds like you have a legit cast. It sounds like you're together. Gosh, you forget
Yeah,
my
we did.
summer. Your summer was for real exciting, not like fake exciting. Like me.
We made a honest goodness movie. No, it's true. It was for realsies. But no, it was I mean, it's taken like 2 weeks, or it's taken like 9 months to get it together, and then it was the craziest 2 weeks of our lives. So that's why people would text me, or people would go on the Twitter and be like, "Hey, are you guys going to do an episode?" And I'm like, I can't even think about Glee.
Oh,
I've
God.
got like casting and crew and all these things that we've been doing for the last 9 months. Jennifer was craft services, so she
And
cooked
catering.
food.
Apparently, that's 2 different jobs.
She
For
did
those
not
of
know.
you aspiring to do this sort of thing.
She didn't know until she got
No.
on the set.
No, the director's wife had to break it to me, and she had to watch my face melt into my shoes.
So, hold on, what was your first title? Services?
Craft services.
She thought she was just craft services, and then she found out that craft services and catering are 2 different departments, and she happened to be doing both of them by herself.
Yes.
She was amazing. The food was amazing, but she cooked 3 meals a day for 25 people for 14
30
days.
people.
Oh God.
Crazy.
Did you?
And it was 3-year-old men who eat a lot. So when I budgeted, what I was going to cook based on what Josh and I eat,
That was
very-
incorrect. What was so did you have producers? I want to know more. Tell me more. Did you funding?
Yeah, we had funding, and then we had 3 other producers. My buddy Mike Dutrano was a producer, and then he brought in 2 guys.
So the script must not be terrible. Someone thought it was good. The script must not be terrible. Someone thought it was good.
I thought it was good, and we definitely drew bigger talent than we deserved.
The actors really were into it.
Yeah.
They
That's
were,
exciting. That's so awesome for you guys.
if there's such a thing. But they were incredible. They were so invested, and they had so many ideas about like who these people were and what they should be doing and why they should be doing it. And it was so, like, for me, like, of course, I've always believed in Josh's talent, and I just, I knew it would be a matter of time before other people would recognize it too. But to see it happen with these actors and producers and directors, it was just very surreal, and so it was just, I was so proud. It was so amazing.
That's
The
amazing.
whole experience was.
Oh
it was
God.
insane.
That's
can't even
it's so crazy. That's like you guys. You're like Josh. You're like you're being awesome and accomplishing things.
Well-
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on IMDb and you look up, House by the Lake, not the one from
74. It's a British movie.
Which is a British horror film. If you look it up, you'll see the amazing cast, and you'll see like the amazing production group, and yeah. I think Michael Colomb is the only other person who's actually credited there, and my God, he has a lot of credits. He's the script supervisor.
Oh yeah,
Super
Michael
nice guy.
Colomb is crazy. He's amazing.
He's so good, but I didn't realize
He's
he
my
had
best friend
been
now.
so busy.
Yeah.
Like, he's
done 217
that
movies.
guy has a career.
Yeah, but he's a script soup, so they're only busy for the time the movie. Well, no, they're busy for like the week before the movie, and then while the movie's shooting, and then the week after. But yeah, no, it was amazing. I mean, we had a great DP, and we had we rented a house.
Photography. I know that one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
But I mean, it is worth mentioning that, like, for all of these amazing things, our entire movie was made for like what Glee spends on their like catering budget for
It
one.
doesn't matter. The fact that you're gonna have a product is like must be
great.
must feel awesome in and of itself. I mean, I'm sure you're like, I'm so cool and I do things all the time, but I'm super proud of you.
No.
Oh, thank you. No. I mean, it's very exciting. It's just it's surreal because it has been like I've been working on it for so long, and so it is kind of strange to know that like for 9 months I've been doing that. I've been working on one movie, and I've got another like year where I'll be able to do other things here and there, but this movie is still going to be pretty active, and yeah, I mean it's just kind of strange. It's just like this is just one part of the process, but it is the biggest, like it's the biggest hurdle because it's the hurdle you always talk about. Like once we get it, like we just got to get the movie shot. We just got to get it shot, and that's the part that never happens. And so this is the first time where that happened. I mean, it isn't the first movie I wrote, but it's the first one that got shot. So that's pretty.
Yeah, but I mean, but all those, I'm sure every single script that wasn't made, you learned something from that found its way into this script, which allowed it to exist. You have to write like a million words before you write a good one, apparently.
Oh, that's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, no, I mean this is the 20th script I've written, to be totally like upfront. This is the 20th screenplay.
That's legitimate. Like, I mean, I mean, not everyone's Ernest Hemingway. or I don't even know if he got published the first book. That's just
I'm sure like the third word. Yeah, it took Ernest Hemingway 3 words before somebody was like, "I'll give you money for that."
Oh no. Who's the person who wrote Frankenstein? That was her first book. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
that's true. She was also married to like
Percy.
Yeah, Percy Shelley. But anyway, yes. So that's what Jennifer and I did with our summer vacation. If you'd like to see anything else about the movie, it's on Twitter at HBTL Film, and then if you go on Facebook, there's House by the Lake Movie, which is the other place you can see stuff, and then there's like an Instagram and stuff. But it's all kind of tied in. So, but yeah, so that's what we've been up to. Ed, what have you been up to?
Well, my stuff sounds lame now, but I
Traveling. You visited a friend.
Yeah, I went. I got to go to Boston for work, which was an exciting 2 days of my life. I only end up working 4 hours of the 2 days. The rest of the time, I was like running around, and I like woke up barely in time to be at the place by 7 a.m. But I was there on time. I was just very tired because I went to Oyster House the night before, and because I'm only there for 2 days, I have to do something, right? The tea, and then
You were there longer. It felt.
No, I just tweeted about it a lot. I do. That's how I make my life seem more exciting. I just tweet about the somewhat exciting parts a lot, so that way when people are like, oh, Ed, he lives an exciting life. And then I went to Minneapolis for 5 days, which is amazing. I love Minneapolis. I went and toured University of Minnesota. I was considering going to grad school there, but I am probably not really considering that anymore for various reasons.
Oh wow.
Not only because they probably won't accept me, but for other reasons. Well, they might. And then just this last week, I am officially a certified forklift operator. So that's a random.
Wow.
I know. It's a random
job.
What's that?
You use that in your job?
You don't have we sometimes store some some ambient stuff like that doesn't that we do yeah I guess not often, and it's not really like I had to do it, but I was like whatever. And in 2 weeks, the next exciting bit of my life is I am starting curling in 2 weeks.
You are actually going to curl.
I joined a club. My first training session is on Wednesday, and my first game is in 2 weeks.
So how does this work? Like, what is it gonna be when you start curling?
I'm headed for Pyongyang or Pyeongchang. That's
You're
the
coming
dream.
for him.
I'm going for it. Like all the great curlers, David Murdoch, Rasmus St. Jern, Oscar Eriksson, Thomas Ulsrud. I'm gonna be competing with you in South Korea Don't you worry. Not really. Maybe there's a chance.
That's amazing.
I've been obsessed with curling. I was like Googled this. Like, is there a curling club in Indianapolis? And there is, and I joined, and now that's it. So
There's one in Western Mass.
That's amazing.
I used to, when I used to work at the turkey farm in Marlborough, Mass, we used to cater their holiday banquet every year, and they had this really cool lodge that they, it was like this beautiful 2-story A-frame lodge, and they had a curling rink, ice, whatever, on the lower level, and then they had the banquet hall above, and it kind of overlooked it, and it was so much fun to watch. I mean, that's the only reason I ever knew of curling. So, hey, it's been in Western Mass for 20-something years. So
I've been like seriously since Sochi, as those who follow me on Twitter know, I've been obsessed with curling. Like I was like F it, I want to do it. So I'm gonna do it.
That's so cool.
Tell me what is like first attracted you to curling?
There's so much strategy to it, and that's what like I just love the strategy. Like I look at the ice, I look at the stones, I'm like, okay, this is the move I would make if I could make moves. If I knew, like, and then I get mad at the Chinese team when they don't do what I want them to do, because I've been watching lots of curling, and the Chinese team is like literally the most frustrating team to watch because they always play the same game regardless of what's happening on the ice. They're like that's why they can get, like, Chinese team consistently gets 4th place, because they're really good at what they do, but they don't react to the board. The board is changing, and you're playing the same game you play every single time. You can't play the same. You have to play a different game. This is like you have to freeze and tap. You can't just do a double takeout. You're probably not. Oh, don't get me started.
You know what? That's
Greatest thing I've
awesome,
ever
because
heard.
I expected the first answer to be the tight pants and the cute buns.
No, the strategy. It's like, and then there are attractive men who do curl, so I don't hate on it. But I've never had a sport where it's like, oh, this is my sport. But I feel like curling is like it's like chess on ice.
That's awesome.
What's funny is, like, this is how Jennifer and I talk about Chopped. Like, I don't think I am this passionate about any actual sport, except for maybe the World Cup, but that only happens once every 4 years.
Baseball.
And a little bit of baseball, but, like, this is amazing. You are so passionate about it. I love it. That's so neat.
It's
Very cool. Congratulations.
I'm excited. I'm gonna tell you how terribly I do in my first match. I'm hoping that I'm like an idiot savant, and I'm like, I've watched a lot of curling in the past since Sochi, so I will at least know what I want to do. Whether I can do it, that's a different question. But I'll be like, this is what I want to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like something you can learn, as opposed to like knowing the game and knowing how to play the pieces, knowing how to strategize. Like if you get that instinctually, the technical part is probably just something you can learn.
Yeah, I figure, yeah. Like, I don't know. I tried fencing in college, but then I got this, like, it coincided, like, 2 weeks into it, I got this infection, so then I stopped. It was unrelated to fencing. But I didn't really like fencing, honestly. I was like, this is difficult. I didn't feel the passion for it. And swimming in high school was just like, swimming, it's okay. I really wanted to play water polo, but since I don't live in, like, California, there's no water polo teams here in Indiana. So
Water polo is so big in California.
yeah, I know. The only reason I knew that they have them in high school in California is because of the OC. That's the only reason I know.
Yeah.
Water polo is a thing
Yeah.
in high school. It's really macho too. Like for a bunch of guys in hairnets and speedos, like it's super macho in California. And whenever there was like hazing or harassment,
It was always always water polo.
Oh yeah, it was always a water polo team.
Well, my former coworker and friend still, her daughter plays, and she's just telling me about stories about like how competitive it is, and like it's like how like aggressive these girls are, and it's like one girl was headbutting her daughter, so her daughter.
Maybe I don't want to do this. Now that sounds scary.
Her daughter, how did she do? She unzipped the other person's suit. And like it's just
Horrible.
like crazy. Well, they were all playing dirty. Apparently, there's a lot of dirty play in
There
water
is,
polo.
yeah.
I had
Well,
no idea.
The other thing about water polo is that it's all core, because you're essentially like you can't touch the bottom, and you can't really use your arms to tread water because you have to use them to catch the ball. So it's all legs and core. So essentially,
God.
you're like you live with an 8-pack during a time of your life where it's really good to have an 8-pack. So it breeds a certain mentality. But
Understandable.
anyway, in Glee-ish related news, we can dive into spoilers on season 6, or at least kind of what we know about season 6. But before we get into that, Jennifer and I had some random Glee experiences off extracurricular Glee experiences. They did a production of Hair at the Hollywood Bowl that we attended, and that starred Jenna Ushkowitz and Amber Riley were in it,
Yeah.
as well as Silas from Weeds.
It was
who was Jamie.
I love Silas from Weeds.
okay. Not only is he dreamy, he can actually sing.
He was more dreamy than could sing.
Hey, whatever.
There were plenty of fantastic singers in it. I'm
Anyhow,
just saying
I
that,
thought
on
he-
the range of
I-
fantastic singers.
I thought he had a very good voice.
Was he
Well, then
competent?
Jenna and Amber were in it, and then Kristen Bell was also in it.
Kristen Bell was so adorable.
Yeah, and there were a couple other random like TV type actors. Of course, when they did the big nude scene in the middle, it was essentially like everyone working for Equity Scale comes out naked, and then the sides of the stage are like
Right.
Kristen Bell and all the famous people.
The girl from Modern Family.
Oh, that's right. Haley from Modern Family.
Yep.
Sarah Hyland was in it.
Yep.
And
Oh,
she was
God.
really funny. But yeah, so Jenna got more lines in Hair than she's ever had an episode of
Oh
Glee.
my God. Well, let's just say she had more lines in that than she did the first 2 seasons.
Like,
This past season, she's got-
Tina's been heavy. Tina's been
She had a
heavy.
lot of unnecessary lines. She had a lot of unnecessary lines because
But,
it was like just a repeat of the whole whatever.
And then Amber didn't really have a lot to do in the show, but she did get the biggest number. She got the opening Age of Aquarius number, which was kind of fun. They were both really good. Jenna was really good.
Yeah, they're great on
It
stage.
was a fun show. The funny thing about Hair is you always go to see Hair and you look around and realize like most of this audience knows the show Hair, but they've never heard the show Hair.
Not all of it.
And the show Hair is very different from the movie Hair, and it's pretty filthy.
Oh yeah,
So-
there's one particular song that's just if they did it on TV, it would just be bleeps for 2.5 minutes.
Is
So
it-
there
is
was
it-
a lot
is
of
it
kind.
worse
you know.
Then is it like scandalier than that one with Rachel and Jesse St. James their movie
Oh, Spring Awakening.
Spring Awakening.
Is a
Oh.
better show.
But is
different.
it
Yeah,
is
but
it
they're very
dirtier? Is it dirtier or less dirty than that?
I would say dirtier.
Yeah, It's
But
more
it's
vulgar.
also much more heavy-handed,
yeah.
and but there's no nudity. Well, there is nudity in it because
Yeah.
like half the cast comes out naked just before intermission.
But it's
So there's
intended to
that.
be that. It's
But-
like at the time, Hair was intended to be. It was about the shock value.
Yeah,
And it was-
boundary breaking.
Exactly, and yes, breaking from the norm, and generational differences, and throwing it in their face, and protesting the war, and protesting, the way life it was. So
The man.
yeah, so I mean,
Standing up against the man.
it was designed for greater shock value, whereas Spring Awakening was just, a beautiful telling of adolescences coming into their adulthood.
Yeah, I mean, Spring Awakening is based on an old German play, like
Yeah.
one of the most successful German plays ever written. And then Hair is, I mean, the thing you can give Hair is that few musicals have generated as many hits as Hair. Like Hair was a huge hit for the Cowsills. The Age of Aquarius was a huge hit for Fifth Element, I think. No, not Fifth Element. fifth
Dimension.
No, crap. And then I mean there was like 4 or 5 really big hits that came out of Hair as a musical. It also broke Meatloaf's career, so we have to love it for that. And the original cast had Lucy Arnaz Jr. So big points there. But yeah, so we saw Hair, and then we also when we went to see Hair, we met Haley, listener Haley, of Haley's Roses fame.
Oh, Haley, that's like the one fan that we both met.
Yeah, it was funny because
we finally met her.
I looked at her Twitter and she said going to see Hair at the Hollywood Bowl, and I'm like, hey Jennifer, Haley is is here somewhere, and I looked over and she was walking by.
Yeah, we're in line waiting. We're waiting.
I've never met her before.
Food.
I just knew her pictures from being online.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That she's and she goes to University of Minnesota. Not that I was there the week before she got there.
Oh, okay.
It's
listener
funny.
Haley, she could not have been nicer and funnier and prettier and cooler.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. And then we had listener Michael David stayed at our house for a couple days.
Yes. And we finally met Connor, after 5-something years.
So if you're a listener and you haven't stayed at our house yet, what's your deal? Like,
what's your problem?
Well, no. Ed hasn't been to our house.
Oh, that's right.
We need to do an Indiegogo called Get Ed Out of Indiana, and it deserves sponsorship. It deserves.
I've been telling you for the last 2 years.
I know. I should. I don't know. Maybe who knows what's happening in March? My lease ends in March. Anything could happen. Probably nothing, but anything could happen.
Ed, have you had any extracurricular Glee experiences?
Not really. I'm blogging still for MJ's big blog for X Factor Australia, which I wish I could recommend to you this season. There's only 2 or 3 acts worth your time, so it's hard for me to recommend.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not watched any of those X Factors, any version.
But you know what is amazing, and I can recommend Amazing Race Canada, and now Global TV has the website not geo-restricted, so anyone in the world can watch it on Global TV's website. And I'm telling you, if you liked Amazing Race at any point, it's worth your time because the cast is good, the host is good, the challenges are good. Essentially what's missing on Amazing Race US. So
the only show that Jennifer and I watch is Married at First Sight on
God, my roommates are obsessed with Married at First Sight. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it. I don't want to know. I don't know why. I'm afraid.
So who's gonna stay together? Who gets divorced?
Oh, because we have bets.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm telling you I will win.
Yeah.
And I got information today when I tweeted about Married at First Sight, and multiple members of the cast started following me on Twitter, and I learned more about them than I wanted to know.
Which basically, to me, it's like I really did think that this was, because it was the first time, I thought it was a pure experiment. Not so much.
But it turned out
just like everything else.
The doctor's not a real doctor. One of the girls was on The Bachelor. I'm like, oh, you totally ruined it for me.
Yeah.
I've never watched The Bachelor, or I would have known.
Well,
The Bachelor is what I see in the soup.
But yes, as far as Married at First Sight goes, Jason and Courtney all the way. They're going to.
Jason and Justin.
Jason. They're gonna make it work.
They're adorable.
I believe in my heart.
I feel like they've met each other.
Yeah, I think they were married before the show started. No, I'm joking. But so anyway, Married at First Sight, and then of course, Face Off.
Well, you always.
That's
you are my roommates. Hey, they're obsessed with both those shows. I don't, and they.
You in March.
There you go.
Right. Do you know what saddens me about The Bachelor and The Bachelorette is that combined, The Bachelor and Bachelorette, Big Brother has had more successful couples come from the show. Like that's just a stat, a factual stat. There's been one successful Bachelor Bachelorette pairing, and there's been at least 3 on Big Brother. So I'm just saying, this season of Big Brother is a waste of your time. Don't watch it. I'm too invested, and they really did not. in a somewhat of a rant. They made the season from 12 weeks to 13 weeks, and I'm telling you, 9 weeks would have been enough. Okay. We all know who's gonna win. We've known for weeks. Just hand Derek the money, please. I'm like they're going through the charade of yes, anyone can win. No, we all know. We all know.
All right, well, let's talk about season 6 of Glee, the last and final season of Glee. If you are even more spoiler-averse than Josh and Jen, you can bow out now. But this is what we know about the season 6 of Glee. It is going to be 13 episodes, and it is going to center around Lea Michele. There's more, but that's what you could have expected.
It's going to be her in Ohio, proving once again that her turning her back on Niata and then turning her back on the musical that she left Niata for was a mistake.
So essentially it's going to find Rachel moving back to Lima after spinning out as an actress. Apparently she moves to Los Angeles. She tries to become a television actress. It goes horribly. She bottoms out and everything goes wrong, and so she moves back to Lima.
How many years later?
Attempts to resurrect the Glee Club. It's going to be 5 years later.
Oh, God. Did they do it 5 years later just so they didn't have to bring back any of the old high school people? That's sad.
It's going to be 5 years later, so I think I had tweeted, every time they do a quote-unquote modern song, somebody's going to go, oh, remember this hit from 5 years ago? And then they're going to perform it because it's going to be weird. But anyway, yeah, they're going to go back 5 years, or they're going to go another 5 years into the future. And she's going to come back and try to save the Glee Club. They started shooting last week, is what we know about that.
They're shooting now for January? Isn't it early?
Yeah, they're currently shooting. I think they're going to have almost every episode in the can before they even start airing, which is kind of like a modern like FX type trick.
That's weird. I mean, doesn't True Blood do that too, though?
Yeah, on paid cable they do that with everything like Netflix and things like that. On broadcast they usually don't. You know, basic cable they usually don't, but it's becoming more and more common. And then we do know the official cast for this 6th season.
We do?
Yes, we do. As far as returning cast members. We will have Lea Michele back. We will have Chris Colfer and Darren Criss, of course, coming back. Dot Marie Jones, Jane Lynch, Kevin McHale, Matthew Morrison, Cord Overstreet, and Amber Riley are all officially back as recurring cast members in just about every episode, or full-time cast members. And then no word on Jenna Ushkowitz, though I did hear a rumor that she's going to come back here and there. And then Naya Rivera has been downgraded to recurring, I think is what they're going to call her.
Well, I mean, over 13 episodes, even a recurring is like
that's like 6, isn't it? Like recurring.
Exactly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Is that guy, the bully guy? Is he going to be full time?
So yes, Max Adler,
Okay.
who played the bully. What was his character name? Anybody?
I don't
Russ-
remember.
Karofsky. Thank you.
Dave Karofsky.
Supposedly, everyone I've talked to says he's the nicest guy in the world. Michael on our movie knew him personally and said he was the nicest guy in the world.
And he seems like that. I mean, he totally seems like that. I mean, usually people who play such good bullies are actually genuinely nice.
He's coming back for a 6-episode arc. The rumor is that he is going to woo Blaine away from for a little while. Let's see how that one goes.
Poorly reacted by the fans, but okay.
Triangle.
And that's one of the big mystery of the season is everyone knows apparently that Lea Michele is going to Rachel is going to spin out in her TV career, return to Lima, and take Mr. Schuster's role as lead of the Glee Club, trying to resurrect the Glee Club as to make herself recapture her youth, because that's
so. Is he technically becoming her original mom's role? Technically,
oh God. Yeah, probably. It's going to end up being something like that. Like he's running Vocal Adrenaline while she's running the New Directions, which hopefully she'll give a new name. So that'll be interesting.
The newer Directions.
The newer, I love it. Sue will have, of course, they're trying to return Sue to being a foil for Rachel. So that'll be interesting. Let's see what else we got. There's going to be lots of new kids on the show. That's a big deal. There's going to be lots of new high schoolers.
I hear there's twins. I think
3.0. Yeah, there's been a lot of announced castings. Nobody I really recognized, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of there were a lot of announced castings for kids. 5 new McKinley sophomores is what they're saying, including 2 twin Cheerios. Yeah.
I guess they figure like, well, we need to have 12, so let's get a 2-for-1 while we can.
And then a whole bunch of other people. You can find it all online.
If they could have gotten away with triplets, they probably would have. If they could have.
But yeah, so that's what season 6 is going to be. Jennifer, thoughts on what we just discussed? Season 6.
How do I say this nicely? My thoughts don't matter.
Because the show's gonna happen.
Well, it is, and you know what? I appreciate them saving me the frustration of watching them do what we know they're gonna do anyhow, and just cutting to the chase and bringing us to this point. So, you know, as I am every time I'm faced with the final season of a show that I either love or once loved, I have the best of hopes, and you know, I just want so badly for it to, you know, find some of the greatness that it used to have.
Yeah.
And remind us why we fell in love with this. Remind us why we stuck with it. And, you know, just go back to what worked before.
I mean, it's
like,
hard.
I always have the best, like, I always have, like, these great hopes and desires for it, but...
It's hard to go back, though, because at the end of the day, like, so much has changed.
Well,
To have, like, to see Rachel leading the new directions, or whatever she's going to end up calling them,
yeah.
like, that's yeah, I don't know how to feel about it. Ed, what do you think?
I feel like I don't know. I'm not angry with it. I'm more a little bit apathetic with that plot. I'm sure to me, like I already see the jokes of Rachel's transfer at the Glee Club and Sue stopping her. Like I already see those jokes. I already know what those jokes are gonna sound like, and they'll be fun. They'll be fun. I know that we're only gonna get a little bit from the characters, from the high schoolers, because Rachel's gonna be the focal point.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's interesting. It'll be interesting to look at like the trajectory of Glee when it's all over. Like this is where it started, and then this is how it ended, and like how did this happen? How did this happen?
I mean, it's interesting because like I can't even describe it as a trajectory right now. Like kind of what it feels like is the show started and then it hit this like giant soup bowl, this giant pot, and just kind of stirred around for years, and now it's going to try to stick the landing. And which is like 4 metaphors mixed into one. So congratulations on that.
But it's hard to believe that Glee was even a show that was even at any point considered and actually was a Super Bowl leadoff show. Like, that was a different show. That was a century ago in Glee life.
Yeah. And that's the aspect of the show. Like whatever that formula was, you know, the irreverence, the edginess, the brutal honesty of the characters. It's like I hope that they can just try to get back to that point again, because it was something really special there. It was something really different and really magical. Mm-hmm. So whatever the scenario is for this final season, if they can just still apply some of that to it, I would be so happy.
I mean, that's definitely, yeah. I want to see them be underdogs again.
Well, she should be the underdog if she's, you know.
But is it going to be convincing?
Her hubris has like failed her out of every career that she ever wanted.
If they can convince me that Rachel is an underdog again, and not just an underdog because she's an idiot, like a real like. That she's a genuine underdog, that she's taking these underdogs under her wing.
She doesn't even need to be an underdog. She just needs to have passion for what she's doing. That was the biggest problem. That was the biggest problem with season 5. She finally got what she wanted, and then she's like, I don't care anymore. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Girl,
Right.
this is not the same Rachel who in season 1 uploaded a video onto MySpace every single day and ran like a mile before school and drank protein smoothies. No, this is like the girl, the spoiled girl that doesn't care and is just successful.
Right.
Like, this is
Put her on her ass, give her a dose of humility, and put her back in charge and trying to, nurture that passion and drive in young students.
I mean, it could be good, I guess. There is potential. It's more likely than 0%.
I mean, on the upside, they've only got 13 episodes. So
and they know they only have 13 episodes, so they don't have. There's no reason to hold back. Like,
exactly.
just
Right.
give it.
They know what their end point
Filler.
is.
No
Like
filler.
they have a flag in the ground to shoot for, so that's exciting. And because they're going 5 years into the future, as much as that annoys me, it does mean they get to kind of shirk off the past and kind of start fresh. It's a cheat, but if it means good episodes, then
that gives us that there's at least going to be 3 episodes dedicated, at least in some part, to what happened to these characters in that convening time.
Think of all the Christmas episodes. They've got 5 Christmas episodes they can fit in.
No, but they won't. They won't do that to us. I'm telling us right now that they won't do that because they care.
They won't do it. No, they won't do it. They won't do it for timing reasons because they're starting in January. So.
Well, okay, yes, you're right. I guess in a way it is a cheat, but I appreciate them saving me from having to agonize and to watch them go through all of these like horrible missteps and still succeed, and us be so frustrated. It's like you just get there. Like we know where you're going to get. Jump ahead, get there, and just give us something that we fell in love with again.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because as the last remaining man carrying a torch for Finchel, which I am a grown ass man who just said Finchel. The thing is I know that this was supposed to be Finn's storyline. This, like, the 13 episodes we're about to see were Finn's 13 episodes. And
Not Rachel's.
11 episodes were going to be Rachel doing what she would have done in this past 5 years, right? Like, this last season was going to be Finn taking over the Glee Club and bringing them into prominence while Rachel spins out in her television career, self-destructs, and then goes back to Lima, and they reunite and be happy, right? That's what this show was. That's how it was supposed to end. And that's how it still ends in my heart. But it's obviously not going to end like that. And it's interesting that they're going to try to kind of have their cake and eat it too, which is pretty much the life story of Glee, is how hard can we try to have our cake and eat it too? It'll be interesting to see. I mean, can Rachel, so on the upsides, 13 episodes, flag in the ground, all of our favorite characters back. We know there's going to be a wedding in there somewhere, which people are counting, like Tumblr can't wait for. So in that way, there's a lot of cool stuff coming. On the downside, it's another 5-year jump, which Glee has already kind of biffed twice, 3 times before. And then, it's still kind of, I want it to be a fresh start for Glee. I don't want it to be Glee picking up with all of the mistakes they've made, like continuing the mistakes that they made.
Hopefully, I mean, with producing it the way they're doing it, they're giving themselves so much time. There's no reason there should be.
Yeah.
There should be no reason for the mistakes that plagued us. Hypothetically, theoretically.
I hope so too. I mean, it'll be great to have. I think it'll be fun to have Max Adler back on the show. I think it'll be fun to be back in Lima. I think there's a lot of potential, and we will be here to enjoy it together as a family, as we have enjoyed every other episode.
You're adorable.
As we have watched every other episode.
No, I mean, seriously, we're probably still like the 3 biggest cheerleaders for this show. We want it to succeed. We want it to deliver. We want the best for it. We want it to end on such a high note. We want it to remind everybody, why we fell in love and why it was special. So I just don't want to get let down.
Yeah, I don't want to, what I want this season to do is that by the end of it, when I tell people I host a Glee podcast, I don't want that look of sadness that I
They're
get
like,
back. People are like, oh, you still do that?
But
Is that show still on?
I mean, I will say a large percentage of the people that we still tell we do this, they say, I love that when it started.
Exactly. You get that
They're
all
like,
the time.
And they're like, I love the first season.
That's so true. But I will
We did
say,
too, and now
I
we're
do
committed.
not shy away from telling people that we host a Glee podcast. I am not ashamed of it. We have stuck it out.
I just say iTunes number 1 podcast because it was true once, so it's always true.
We were a very successful podcast. We're still, I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers in a while, but we still do okay. So, and to everybody listening who has been with us, I know we still get new listeners, which is amazing. So if you're still with us, if you're still watching Glee, we're going to finish it out together. Which reminds me, I was thinking for these last 13 episodes, it might be fun to have more listeners on the show interacting with us on the show. So if you would like to be a guest host, we do kind of record at a weird time at like 7 or 8 on a Sunday
Pacific Standard.
So like 10 or 11 if you're on the East Coast. But if you're crazy,
Is that weird?
Let me know. I think that would be fun to have more listeners on the show. I don't know.
Well, what's normal? I don't know what for podcasting. What's normal? They're just like
there is no normal. Most people I know record. Yeah, most people I know record either in the afternoon if they split time zones like us, or they record in the evening, but everybody is in the same time zone. So we'll figure it out. We will make it work.
I mean, it helps that I was literally up till 8 a.m. I was like, I'll just stay up until X Factor Australia airs in Australia and write my article, and then
Crazy pants.
Yeah, it helps.
It helps that I'm crazy. It helps that I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bit. I think that's it for us. If you'd like to weigh in on anything we said tonight, you can email us at gleefulpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at gleefulpodcast. I'm at Josh Burnell. She's at Jenny B. Creative. He's at Edward Giordano. You can find us on Facebook. Just search for Gleeful Podcast and talk to the other listeners. I imagine it's quiet there right now, but if you wanted to start a conversation, now would be the time. Everyone will hear you. We will be back. I don't know when, but we'll definitely be back when Glee starts running, which is not going to be until January. But we will have plenty to discuss between then and now. So yeah, for us, Jennifer, anything else?
No. No. Hope everybody's doing well out there.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope everybody had a good, fun summer and staying safe from the heat. But all good here.
All right. Ed.
I want you two to blindly agree that if I qualify for the Olympics, that you'll go and watch me.
Oh my God,
We will
Team
totally
Ed
go to
all the
Korea.
way.
If you
Yes.
get to Korea, we will go.
You will be going to. Okay, well that might happen.
Korea. If Ed competes in Korea, Josh and Jen will go to Korea.
Absolutely.
You heard it here, folks.
Yes. I've been trying to convince everyone to blindly agree to this because it might happen. It might happen. The American team isn't that good, so.
Wow.
Well, for the Gleeful Podcast with Josh, Jen, and Ed, I'm Josh.
I'm Jen.
I'm Ed. Have a nice night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
At least I think I do.
Have a nice night, y'all.
All right, dude.
Good
We will talk to you
night.
soon. Good night, buddy.